Greetings and welcome to the Homeless Consultant channel. My name is Paul B. I am the Homeless Consultant. And in this video I am just going to read you a letter that I sent to the Midwest Journalism Conference, which is due to be held in the Twin Cities in March of 2017. I think it speaks for itself, and since I've never received a response from any media in Minnesota, I think the better purpose for this letter is to put it on the website so that hopefully some of the Minnesotans out there can see what kind of a news media they really do have. And with that, here is the letter. Dear conference organizer, may I suggest a topic for discussion at your upcoming conference in the Twin Cities? In front of their peers, ask the Minnesota news media, e.g. Star Tribune, Pioneer Press, KSTP, KARE 11, WCCO, NPR, etc., why they have consistently ignored the story of a man who was made homeless by Minnesota government negligence, incompetence, and corruption, lost everything he had worked his entire life to earn for no good reason, and is now preparing to die from total neglect, poverty, hunger, and exposure in 21st century Minnesota, off camera. My YouTube channel has documented my slow and excruciatingly painful demise all along, and then I give the web address. After all, I have informed the Minnesota news media about this for several years, and asked for their help to save my life on numerous occasions. I also asked for their help to get justice when I was denied my right to vote because I am homeless, and so on. The press has never once responded to me in all these years. Ever. Not even when I contacted KARE 11, offering to give my beautiful electric guitar, which had no use to me homeless, to an impoverished child with talent for the instrument, if they could identify one for me. I would be interested to know why the suffering and death of a human being appears to be more satisfying to them than helping to right an epic wrong, seeking true justice, and restoring a good man's life. Perhaps they will explain this to your conference attendees, since they have consistently refused to respond to me. I can think of a few relevant questions to ask them. Ethics. Is it a more important function of the press to protect negligent, incompetent, and corrupt government in order to maintain access to power, or to publish true stories of atrocities committed by government in order to save victims' lives and prevent recurrence of those atrocities? Business. Does it benefit the press financially to generate distrust, contempt, and ill will toward the news media by failing to report such stories, given the cost of damage control, covering up malfeasance, restoring the press's reputation, etc., especially in the age of internet alternative media competition? Or is it more financially profitable to function as a responsible press all along, which will naturally inhibit costly criticism, boycotts, loss of trust, loss of subscribers, loss of ad revenue, the rise of competition, and so on? Creative journalism. Since the premise of my story is that Minnesota rules, regulations, and laws legally prohibit me from escaping homelessness by working my own way out of it, and that the social service shelter system is a bloated, expensive, tax-funded farce, why did the press not conduct an experiment? Buy me a haircut and a shower, get me some decent professional clothes, rent me a reliable vehicle, provide me with temporary housing, for example, hotel for a month, and marvel at how quickly I would then restore my professional career without any government assistance at all. Then, compare the costs of that to the aforementioned bloated, apathetic, oblivious, expensive, tax-funded social services that accomplish no such thing for Minnesota's 10,000 homeless, or the hundreds of Minnesota homeless who die each year. a mortality rate more than twice that of the general population in Minnesota. Of course, I would have many more questions to ask them, as any reasonable person would want to fully query the motives of individuals who sat back and allowed them to die off camera, when those individuals easily could have made a positive contribution towards saving their lives instead. But I realize that your conference time is short. So these 3 questions might provide some useful insights for your industry, which is already suffering from terrible credibility problems as of late, for obvious reasons. All the best, Paul B. And before I sign off, I guess the only thing I will add is that those questions I asked about ethics, business and finance, and creative solutions also apply to the far more than 100 Minnesota churches that I approached for help, each of which sent me to those bloated, expensive, tax-funded farces known as government agencies, social services, and shelters. As a former professional and business person, I am absolutely offended at the way the state of Minnesota wastes so much money on these agencies and programs that just plain don't work. If someone would like to try this experiment with me and see just how long it takes me to get my professional career back, and then you compare the amount of money spent on that versus what the government spends per homeless person, I think you're going to understand why all of your taxes are so high. Well, that and the fact that the legislators are raising their own pay. The people in St. Paul don't have the foggiest idea what they're doing. They're incompetent. That's why. And unfortunately for people like me, the media in Minnesota is equally negligent, incompetent, and corrupt. My expectation of receiving a response to this email to Midwest Journalism Conference is non-existent, based on almost 5 years of trying to contact the media to help prevent my homelessness in the first place, which they failed to do, or to end it once I became homeless, which they also did not even try to do. That's all I have for this video. Thank you for listening.